Hey everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com. I just finished making a few sample cards that I wanted to share with you, and I thought what I would do is to show you a great way to use some of this new paper. And I probably should have had this done ahead of time, but you know me, you know how I roll. So what I ended up doing was I was making some thank you cards, and I've been wanting to try out this new Noble Peacock Specialty Designer Series paper. So if you buy this suite, you actually get everything in it, one of everything. You do still get a bundle discount for the stamps and the die, but you also get foil paper and you get this specialty paper. So the specialty paper is this. It has a nice running leaf pattern, and I trimmed some of these down. I'm going to show you a couple cards to make with them. It has a really pretty, it's kind of like it could either be a flower or like a peacock feather pattern. And then this last one, which I moved one of the pieces, has more of like a flowery grid pattern. And these do coordinate really well with some paper. And the paper that I chose to use with them is Bermuda Bay, Blueberry Bushel, and Granny Apple Green. So I just want to show you, there is an item code for that. It's 152187. So when you go to my online store, you can put that in and it gives you one of everything. You don't have to worry about putting 55 different things in. But what I wanted to show you was a few of the cards that I made, and I kind of tend to make my thank you cards. Sometimes I'll make them with current products. Sometimes I'll do like a mix of the two. But I had really been missing the Tranquil Tide. So I got out what I have left of my Tranquil Tide. And then I got out some of the, I believe it was called foil. I have it right here and I'll tell you. Springtime foils, and this was a specialty designer series paper. So if you do order with me through the end of June, it might be a little bit in July depending on how much I have left, I've been giving out 6x6 squares of this paper. So this is one that I made, and it's kind of like a peekaboo card, so you can put your message on the inside. This stamp is actually from the Peacock stamp set, and then I added one of the little Noble Peacock rhinestones on it because I thought it was really cute. And then this one is from the new Daisy Lane stamp set. This one's just a little bit smaller, but same thing, has a little peek through. But I want to show you a couple other cards that I made using the Magnolia Designer Series paper. So this one I used one of our newer punches. I believe it's called the Story Label Punch. Now I can't remember it, I apologize. But this is part of a one sheet wonder. So here's one. And I did this one. My little greeting's a little crooked, but I could always restamp another one and pop it up on top of there if I wanted to. This uses the, I'll tell you what this one is, To a Wild Rose. This is actually a 3-step stamp, but I just used the outside for that just to give a little interest. This is another little peekaboo card, and you can see I decorated this with the rose part from that, and then I finished the inside, Blessed to Be Your Friend. This one also uses some from To a Wild Rose and also the Verdant Garden. And then the sentiment is from To a Wild Rose, but it hides the sentiment. Pretty simple though, just ink, stamps, and paper. And then this one I used the Daisy Lane. So I used the fern and the daisy. Even though I know this has magnolias, I think it still went nicely because it's stamped off. It's not direct ink. So this one is the first ink, and then this is stamped off, and I kind of turned them a little bit different directions, as you can see. You can even add some Wink of Stella if you wanted, and then the inside we'll just have to add a plain piece of paper. I'm going to save that one for last. And then this one I just did just a scrap of the paper, and then I did a punch, a circle punch. I believe this is the 2-inch circle punch, and this is 1 3/4-inch circle punch. And then the last one I did I thought was fun, and let me tell you why I did this. I would have one, so for this one sheet wonder that I have, you can do 13, even 14 cards. And I had this from a while ago and I never did it, so I will do a tutorial with it. However, what I did was I was punching out this circle. Why I decided to just punch it from a perfectly folded piece of cardstock, who knows, but so I punched this out and I thought, oh, well, now that I have that punch, what I should do is I could lay the full piece of DSP on top, and then I went back and I lined it up and I punched it again, and then I added this to the inside. So it's like a little peek-through card, if you can see. And then it has So Very Proud of You. One tip I will say is maybe not to stamp quite so close to the edge, because this little guy here is really, really thin. So he is glued down, probably could be glued a little tiny bit better to this piece here. So I could put like a little bit of fine tip glue underneath just to keep him together. But if you were going to do this yourself, I'd move it over just a hair. That way you don't have quite such a thin edge there. But I thought this was a really neat card. So in keeping this with this, what I thought we would do is for a couple of these, I'm going to do one like this, And then I'm going to try to do this one for you so I can show you. But instead, I'm going to do it with these foils. And then we'll just add a little bit of a sentiment to it. So this one I'm going to do first. So I have a piece of blueberry bushel. So 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So I'm going to just fold this in half. Just hit it with my bone folder. Okay, let me make sure. Do I still have all my punches here? They were just here a second ago. Nope, put them away. Can't believe I actually put something away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch out. I'm fairly certain this is the one I did. So that's the smaller one. Yeah. I'm going to punch out from the base. Just here at the bottom. So I'm going to just kind of move it up just a little bit. So I don't want it too high. So I'm going to punch that out. So I'm going to punch that, but I'm going to use a different color. And then what we're going to do is we're going to punch out a sentiment with this one. And you could use the same color if you want, because it'll be like the circle is there. But then when you pop it up, hold on. When you pop it up, it'll be like a peek through there. But I think if we did it in a different color, it would be kind of neat because it would make it pop a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is, what did I do with all my little papers that I had? Here they are. So I'm going to pick the paper that coordinates. Again, I'm going to use the full sheet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of eyeball this where I want it. I'm going to put some glue. And the reason I use the liquid glue for this is that way, if it's not lined up exactly, you can kind of put it where you want it. Make sure I put a little bit on the side there, but not too much. So it kind of gives you the ability to be able to move this around. So you'll see in 1 minute. Now on this side, one thing that's going to be different is it's going to have white. So you can still use this little thing on the other side if you wanted to use it as your circle, but you could save this for something else as well. So I'm going to set this down just like that. So the reason I said with the liquid glue is if this was like too low or too high, you can still move it a little bit. Just wipe that little smudge and make sure this is nice and sealed. Then what you'll do, because you only want to punch through one piece at a time, is you're going to take your same punch again, so same 2-inch circle punch. You're going to line it back up. It lines up almost exactly and punch it out. Okay, so then you'll have this that you could use for something different. And then you see, so it still is a little bit tight here, the way I punched. So probably still want to move it over. I guess I just didn't move it over far enough, so probably still want to go over maybe just a hair more, like another 1/8 of an inch to the side, but at least it's all sticking down this time, so we have that going for us. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, let's see, I'm going to grab a piece of Whisper White, and I don't have any big pieces, so I'm going to have to use a whole sheet, and I'm going to just go ahead and trim this down. Oops. Just to a half sheet and then a 1/4 sheet, and we'll use that. Wish you guys could see what I'm stamping on. You'd think I was insane. So we have this piece here, and what we'll do is we'll just do hello, something very simple. And again, if you wanted to, now I know this is a little bit darker, so this is clearly a much lighter card. So if you wanted to, the other thing you could do is you could put this white down first, and then you could put the blue, that way it would pop. And then you could put the white down again. So I think we will do that just to make it look a little bit nicer so you'll be able to see it. This one you wouldn't have an issue with, obviously, because you could write with black one to pink. So keep that in mind if you do choose a darker one. So I'm going to grab one more piece, and I'm going to use this one because I got my little nail polish scratch on there. So I'm going to cut this down to 5 1/4 by 4, just like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this down. Again, I'm going to use the liquid glue. Just like that. Make sure I have the red fingernail side down. So I scratched that with my nail polish. Okay, so there's that. So then what I'm going to do is, since this is just solid blue on that, I'm going to put this one back down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here. And I'm going to put this down. But I'm going to kind of, that's why I did liquid glue, because you can wiggle it a little bit. And then we'll put that there. And I know this is kind of slightly off because of the way I trimmed it. So just be mindful when you do that, but otherwise no big deal. So now I'm going to take my white scrap and I have my sentiment. And again, you could do, you know what, we'll just continue with tone on tone. We'll do blueberry bushel. And we'll just put hello. And I'm just going to put this up here where I think it should fit. Again, I'm using 1 3/4. Just punch this out. Kind of keep it centered for the most part. And then I'm going to grab 2 dimensionals, whoop, 3, because I happen to grab 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we'll put this right here in the center, just like that. So now you have a card that when you open it, just says hello, and then you can write your little message up top. You could also do this with like a light gray piece if you wanted to. You could do it with vanilla, but if you have a lighter base card like this one, you don't really need to add in that white piece at all. So that'll turn out really cute. So there's one card. And then let me put, now we will go with a Bermuda Bay card. So this one, we will make one of our fold cards. Let me move this over. So what I'm going to do is we will do one each way, and then you'll have 2 ideas. So obviously this one is folded. This is again 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, 4 1/4 by 11, score it 5 1/2. So if you're going to score it at the half mark, you're going to score it at 2 3/4, because 2 1/2 will be 5, and then you want to add a little bit more. So you're going to fold this in like that. And fold this over like that. And then this piece measures, let's see what I end up doing with this one, 2 3/4 by 4. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim this out. So I'm going to go 2 3/4 because you want it to be the same. That way it kind of hides it. So 2 3/4 by 4, which is there. And you're going to want to be a little bit mindful because this isn't really very florally. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use the peacock just to kind of decorate it. So I have my peacock, just the extra feathers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, stick with tone on tone. These are really pretty too with the jewel tones. And I just have the peacock feathers. Stamp that there. Same thing on this side. Doesn't really need to be like overkill. And I am going to add the actual sentiment this time in black. So we have that, and we will do proud of you. How about that? And you could actually, you know what, we're going to do 2 on this one because I think it's going to look really cute this way, the way I did it on the other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a tiny you did it, and then on the inside we'll do a proud of you. So I have the you did it, and this will be a memento. I'm going to just do this really tiny on the edge here. Yep, that's a little crooked. Let me try that again. There you go, much better. And proud of you, I'm going to just put into the center here. I need to re-ink my memento. Put this right here. Perfect, yeah. Definitely needs to be re-inked, so I'm going to set this one on the side so I remember. Okay, so now the key to this is, let me trim this down just a smidge first. And I am actually going to trim this so it's a really, really thin sentiment, so just like this. Okay. And then I'm going to take and just give this a little angle. Oops. An angle cut. Just like that. Okay, so now we're going to put this together. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I really reinforce my folds with the bone folder. Okay, then I have my panel here. We're going to put You Did It, and I'm going to just put this on with a teeny bit, because it is foil paper, I'm going to put it on with a teeny bit of liquid glue. And when I say teeny, I mean teeny, because if you have too much, it'll kind of scoot all over the place just because of the foil. So we'll just put this right here. And kind of following along with the line, so that works out really well. You could even, if you wanted to, add in a little jewel. And I'm going to try to stick with the same color. So I'm going to grab, oh, these were super popular. I used these at my card class recently. So I'm going to stick with the Bermuda Bay jewel. Oh, oops. That just goes to show you that it does slide around. And then we're going to put this on. So we're only going to put adhesive on half of it. Just like that. And kind of line this up. You can absolutely get out your T-square ruler if you want to make sure that it's really, really straight, but that's good enough for me. Now when I do this one, however, I'm going to put this down with liquid glue because I want to be able to move it if I need to. So what I'm going to do is turn this over. That's just from where I sat it on my paper piercing mat. So you might want to make sure you give yourself a little piece of scrap paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of line it up so this hides it. Put it down underneath. Make sure for the most part I like it that it's pretty straight. And then that will hide your little sentiment there. So you have a little peekaboo underneath. Really simple, but again, just stamps, ink and paper, and then I added that one little jewel. So that is 2. And then the last one we will do with the Granny Apple Green. So this one is going to be a different way. And I'm going to just show you real quick how I score this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and score it at 4 1/4. This is a full sheet of cardstock. So 4 1/4. And then I'm going to cut it at 5 1/2. Okay. And then I'm going to score it again at 2 2/8. There we go. Okay, just like that. So then this should fold nicely. Perfect. Sometimes things work out. Not always, but let me flip this over before I have a ink of the wrong color. And now that I'm looking at this, I feel like I might not have gotten out the Granny Apple Green. I think this is Pear Pizzazz. Yeah, because this is definitely not as exciting. So I'm going to put this one back. So pretend like you didn't see that. And instead, we're going to actually get out a piece of Granny Apple Green, because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, that does not look the right color. So I'm going to do this one more time. So my apologies. So we're going to do the same thing again. Score it 4 1/4. Cut it 5 1/2. And then once again, you're going to score at 2 1/8. There you go. So you're going to fold and fold. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this again with my bone folder. There we go. And then I'm going to grab a piece of that specialty foil that is actually in the green, kind of Granny Apple Green. So you could do one this way now, and then you could have a different one. You could even put another layer behind this, which I think would look really, really pretty. So we'll do that. And I'm going to grab a scrap of black because I think that makes it pop. So this is, I believe, 2 by 4. Let me just verify. 2. It's about 2 1/2. Yes, sir. Come on up. Sorry. Napper just woke up as well. So we'll do this 4 1/4 by 2 1/2. Let's see if I can squeeze that out of there. So that looks really pretty. And then all we're going to do is layer that on top. Hey, I'm almost done. Hang on one second. Somebody just woke up from their nap. Rainbow Stamper had a little break today. Had a little nap break.
And then actually awake a little bit.
Oh, you were. The Rainbow Stamper was awake. So I'm going to put this piece down. I'm going to put a little bit of glue. So again, you could do this with glue, or you could do it with tape. And then all I'm going to do is put another piece underneath that's going to basically mimic this. So I might have a piece here. That's a little bit wide. We'll go with this one underneath. So all I'm going to do is add, and actually what I'm going to do, because I already have it out, if I can remember where exactly it was that I put it, is I'm going to do it with the Peacock, with the little, the second stamp feather, but instead I'll do it with Granny Apple Green. All right, so I'll grab my Granny Apple and add a little bit of something to this. And I'm just going to give this kind of like the whole flourish. There you go. And I'm not going to do it twice. I'm going to just do it once. And then we will add a little sentiment to the front. And if we want to do the side of this, I could leave this blank so we could do this on the inside. I'm going to put something on the front instead. So I'm going to just flip this over. Oops, I don't want to do that because I want to be able to wiggle it around if I need to. So once again, I'm going to do the liquid glue. And I'm going to flip this over. Just decide which side you want at the top. I'm going to keep the flourish at the top. You kind of match it up to this in the back. And then just make sure where you put it, you like it. Because this one was just a tiny bit off. So I'm going to actually move this just a smidge. Make sure it still covers. That looks really nice there. Okay, so then all I'm going to do is I have one more little strip here. So I'm going to add You Are Incredible, and I'm going to do this once again in the Granny Apple Green. And then what we could do is we can always add, if you wanted to add something additional to the inside, you could stamp it in black just to kind of keep that pattern going. So we have You Are Incredible. This is also from the Peacock, so lots of really nice sentiments in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to just kind of cut this like that. And I notice I have a little line here from my trimmer. Must have been a little wonky. So you can do one of two things. If you can see, it's very hard to see, but there's a little lip here. So what you can do is you can press this down with your bone folder and it kind of will make it flat again. And if that doesn't work, the other thing I've done before is just snip the little edge off. So I'll kind of just follow the line. Just barely snip the edge off. But I'm going to be 100% honest with you. A lot of times when you just flatten it with the bone folder, that works out really well too. So I'm going to put just a little bit of Tombow onto the back. And now, because I did put this almost all the way over, I can let the flag hang off. So if you don't want anything sticky, just make sure you kind of move your sticky. And if you get a little bit behind there where you don't want it, you can always just kind of rub it off with your finger or a little adhesive eraser. But there you go. Super, super simple. A bunch of really easy cards to create. So there's 1, 2. This one was the one that I had for the template earlier, 3. There's really beautiful cards. These jewel tones are really, really, oopsie, really, really vivid. I really, really love them. So I will post all of these to the blog later, but that'll give you like a little bit of inspiration to get started if you want to do something simple with just, again, stamps, ink, and paper, maybe a little jewel if you want to add it. You can buy all these supplies and more in my online store, which is rachthestamper.stampinup.net. When you go to buy there, make sure that if you're going to get the whole suite, use the suite code because it puts one of everything in your cart. Remember, every purchase from me always gets a thank you gift. No matter how large or small, I always send a thank you gift. You also will always get a free PDF. And then if you have an order over $50, you'll also get a super free PDF, which is basically just has more ideas on it. If you have any questions whatsoever, all you have to do is send me an email, rachthestamper@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.